Hey, hello again. Well, I'm back at the Dalles Campground. It's a beautiful area, easy to get to out along Highway 410 here in Washington State. A lot of beautiful winter scenes to choose from. This is what I'm thinking of painting today. I'll probably zoom in a bit. What's really drawing me to the scene is this little side fork of the White River curling off into the distance. The distant warm pines, all the different greens, orange greens and blue greens, light greens, dark greens in that hillside of pines, and then these pine shadows on the snow going away from me. It seems like when I kind of glance away and then glance back, what I'm seeing in those shadows is a warm blue shadow with an outline of lavender or almost pink. It goes away when I look directly at it, but kind of when I glimpse it quickly, that's the impression I'm given. So I want to try to capture that in this painting, capture a lot of color in the snow. So I'll try to move kind of quickly, but it's such a beautiful spot, beautiful day, nice and clear so far. There's a little bit of a breeze, but it's not real cold. The temperature is cold. It's right around freezing, but since there's no wind, it's not real cold. And I've got the right clothing on for it, my ski pants and my heated gloves. So I'll get set up and see what I can make of this scene. Try to come up with an interesting abstract pattern first of those big simple shapes. I could include more of this foreground, but I don't really want to. I think it would add too much kind of weird shapes in the right down near the bottom of the panel, so I don't think I need to. As you can see, it's just a gorgeous spot. There's no lack of beautiful subjects to paint. Quick rundown on my palette. We've got ivory black, cold gray, titanium white, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, burnt umber, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, cad red, cad yellow, and gambling radiant lemon. So I left out some of the colors I sometimes lay out. I think the scene will be easily captured with these colors. I've got turpentine here. I'll start with a turpentine sketch and turpentine wash, and then once I'm done with the wash, I'll put the turpentine away and get the Gamsol out. Got a little bit of Neil McGilpin here. I'll add that to each mixture of paint as I mix the colors to match the scene, and I'll put a little bit of Gamsol in this cup just to wet my brush with. Going with an 11 by 14 inch Centurion oil primed linen panel today. Now, if you watch this channel, you know I like to experiment. So today's experiment will be, I'm going to try using a India ink or Chinese ink wash brush. I love to paint watercolor and love to do ink wash paintings. So I'm using a brush that is typically used for that. I'm not sure how it'll work. I just think that being a little more expressive with the initial sketch. Here's the ink wash brush. You can see it's pretty big. It's got a big belly. I'm hoping it holds a lot of turpentine and a lot of paint so that I can do more of a contour style drawing. So I'll be using this ink wash brush in the initial sketch to try to get a little more of an expressive contour type line. I do a lot of sketching and drawing, and I like to do contour drawings. It kind of forces some unique solutions and gives the drawing a unique look. I want the distant bank of the river to be just about on this upper 1/3 line. I don't think I'll include any of the sky. This will all just be a background of trees. There's a little bit of a tan cliff face back here. and then some birch trees or ash trees coming up kind of at a neat angle, and then these really vibrant, almost orange pines. I'm going to dip in just a little bit of, so I'm not getting a complete contour drawing out of it, and that's okay. I can just still act like I'm doing a contour drawing by continuing the line. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna and sketch the path of the river. And just to add interest to the scene, I'm going to suggest, I do see some fallen logs up there. I'm just going to take one and make it a little bit bigger and throw it into the scene at this kind of angle. I may even throw another one in down here just to give a little bit more interest, a little bit more lead in. And maybe just a little break in the snow down here in the foreground. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. I think that's pretty good for the sketch. Rinse out this brush a little bit. Where the snow is in the sun, I'm going to put down a cad yellow wash. As it goes further away, I'm going to add just a touch of alizarin crimson for the snow and the sun. That's strong. I'll wipe that away. I'm going to exaggerate the snow on this bank up here, make it just a little bit thicker than what it actually is, to add some interest. I'll suggest this bigger tree trunk here. Want some patches of sun coming down through the shadow here as well. And then I'll throw it on the top of this cliff as well. Suggest some snow on top of the cliff. Okay, now before that sets up, I'm going to take a clean Rosemary Evergreen and my t-shirt rag and wipe away some of the lightest lights, which is the light on the snow before it sets up completely. Also the light on some of these trees. Simplifying the shadow shape. Trying not to make it too complicated, but I do want to give the impression that there's big pine trees behind me standing up casting these shadows. Now you remember I said earlier I wanted to add a little bit of a pink outline to the blue shadows. So I'm going to throw just a touch of alizarin crimson outline. Go back to my ink wash brush. And I'm going to outline the shadow first in alizarin crimson. I'm just playing here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm just having a little fun. This brush is losing some hairs. That's normal for an ink wash brush. It normally sheds a little bit when you first get it. When I get this home, I'll rinse it out real well with Gamsol, and then I'll use some Old Masters brush soap and wash the brush really well. It wasn't a very expensive brush, so it might fall apart pretty quickly. I don't know. We shall see. This turpentine and Gamsol might destroy it pretty quickly. Okay, for the background, to keep that warm-ish, to show that it's still in the sun, I'm going to go back to burnt umber. Mainly burnt umber, and just block in this wall of trees. Add a little bit of alizarin to that as it recedes. Even a touch of ultramarine blue. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the shadow shapes. The shadow on the snow. And go with a little more of this ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. And add some blue to the heart of these shadows. I can add some little rocks to this stream as well. Trying to keep the shadow shape simple. Alright, there's the turpentine wash in. I could definitely go longer, play with it more. That's just a lot of fun. That ink wash brush is fun. It gives you a thick stroke or a very thin stroke. It puts down a lot of paint quickly. I hope it stops shedding. That was kind of annoying. I kept having to try to wipe some of the shed hairs out of the paint. Not worrying about it too much though, so hopefully it settles in. I may have to buy a little higher quality brush if I like using it. Alright, so now I'll start to mix up the colors to match the scene. Take off my sunglasses so that I get a true read of the colors. Hold my palette knife out in front of me as I mix the colors. I'm going to try to mix up just a few piles of color to capture the scene. One thing that is drawing me to the scene is how flat this area of the river is, and it's reflecting the background orange of the trees. Now, what's difficult is to get a read on the value. It's hard to tell. If I squint down, it is quite a bit darker than those background trees, so I'm gonna have to watch out for that and not just use the same sun on the trees in the reflection in the water. I'll have to darken it down quite a bit. Keep that river one dark shape. Got some colors mixed up here. I've got the more blue-green background trees in the sun and in the shadow, the more orange background trees in the sun and in the shadow, and then a little darker shadow color for the creek as it comes closer to us. Some snow colors, bluish lavender, pinkish, and yellow for the sun and snow, blue shadow, more of a pinkish lavender shadow, and then a couple colors for the rocks. I'll try to leave just a little bit of the alizarin crimson wash exposed along the edge of the shadow of the snow. where the snow goes from being in the shadow to being in the sun, to capture that impression I got when I first started. The light's changing quite a bit, the sun's moving across the scene, the shadows are moving, so I need to get a move on before I lose this light. I would normally do is start with the background and work forward, but I think in this case, I think the background is going to stay pretty consistent, so I don't have to worry about capturing the light. What I want to do is capture the shadows on the snow before it changes too much. So I'll start with the lightest light. Start with number 5, Rosemary long flat, Evergreen long flat. I'm going mostly by the wash. I'm going to fill in the lightest patches of snow first. I don't like to use pure white really ever. I like to always mix just a little color into the white, and then if I need to, I can dip my brush once it has a color into it into white if I want to lighten it even further. But try to avoid using just pure white in my paintings. I find that using pure white can make the painting look a bit chalky. But I know some artists are successful using pure white in their paintings. Now, as it gets further away, the lightest light is gonna get a little cooler, so I can add a little of this pink or a little bit of this blue as it goes further away. But I do want to just touch a couple highlights to carry this same color through the scene, kind of lead the eye around. So to that end, I want to make sure I have a little bit of this lightest light up front as well. Just suggest a couple patches where the sun is shining through the shadows. Using that same brush, I'll move into this next darker, slightly bluer lavender. Still the sun on the snow. And just try to suggest some form in this snow as it turns away from the direct sun, not quite shadow. It picks up a little bit of blue reflected light from the sky. Alright, now I'll move into the shadow on the snow. I'll just use the same brush. Not going to bother to wipe it out. I've almost completely lost the shadow on the snow, so I'm just kind of going by my wash, the wash I put in earlier and by memory. I'm adding a little bit of the sun on the snow here and there just to lighten it slightly to model some form, show the rocks under the snow. But I don't want to lose the overall shadow shape that I captured earlier. Alright, now I'm going to grab a different brush. I'll go back to this brush I used during the wash and paint in the dark of the river. I use these dark shadow colors first. I'm going to throw just a little bit of this rock color that I mixed up to suggest the sky reflecting on the water here. Keeping it dark, but adding just a little bit of reflection. I apologize if there's a lot of glare on the panel. Add just a little bit of burnt sienna down here where it gets closer to me. I can see more of the red of the bed of the river. Don't want to overdo it though, it's not real vibrant. Throw in some of this rock color. Lighten it. Just a little bit of this snow shadow color. And suggest the rocks out in the distance in the sun. I can use a little bit of this and some burnt umber for this fallen log. Alright, light has changed a lot. What I want to do is quickly map in the background trees, just real roughly, real thinly, and then step back and maybe come back here another day or finish it in the studio. I'll take this large, it's a number 6 Rosemary Masters natural hair brush, and I'll map in the light blue greens first, and then the blue green shadow, and then the orange green light and the orange green shadow. The sun's really moving across the scene now, making it difficult. I don't have to block all this wash either. I can leave some of that just suggest the soft transition of colors in the distance. Okay, now I'll go into the shadow. Seems very dark. Lighten it up just a little bit. bit. Well, here's where it ended up. It took about 2 hours. That was a lot of fun. Real challenging with the sun moving across the scene, losing the shadows, and then the sun going behind some clouds. But I feel like I got the feeling of the place in the panel, and I captured the colors, so I can take it back to the studio, maybe scrape down some of the thicker areas and finish it up there. As always, thanks so much for joining me. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit my website. I sell these little plein air pieces at a reasonable price because I consider them practice. It really makes me happy when someone likes my art enough that they want to hang it in their home. You can also sign up for my newsletter and stay up to date on my new work and shows and get a discount on original art and prints.